Welcome back, viewers at home. Joining me right now in studio is the CEO of AFS Intercultural South Africa, Mr. Adam Baatjes, who is here to share with us, rather discussing the organization's mission of fostering intercultural understanding, global citizenship, and peace building. Now, through these experiences, participants gain essential intercultural skills and become active agents for change, working towards a more just and peaceful world. Mr. Adam, good evening, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me this evening.
Now, before we get to the benefits and the offerings of this AFS Intercultural South Africa, can you please tell us a bit about how would you, based in layman terms, explain what AFS is all about?
So AFS is a intercultural learning organization, and what that means is we send and work with students all over the world to send them to different countries to experience new cultures. And interestingly, we were started after World War One as a group of ambulance drivers, then known as the American Ambulance Field Service, who serviced both sides of the war. And then World War II came, and then they again went out, brought more than 700,000 soldiers back from the front lines. And the legend goes they then sat around the fire, as we would like to imagine, and thought about, well, how do we solve world peace? Because we cannot continue this way. And then that is how the first high school exchange organization was born. Because the idea came in that the best way to really solve peace is to share your cultures with other people. And further to that, was the best way to do that was with students. So the first then exchange happened between France and the USA, and that was right after World War II. In 1958, AFS South Africa joined the program, and since then we've exchanged more than 5,000 students over the various years.
And looking at, some of its offerings of AFS Intercultural South Africa, and ideally the benefits of undergoing this experience, can you share with us some examples of how AFS participants have used their intercultural experiences to make this positive impact that you just really described to us briefly?
Right, so AFS students really, they go, firstly, they are super excited to share a little bit about South Africa, right? And to share their culture from wherever they might be in the country. And so they go abroad and they talk about, the greatness of South Africa and what we do here, what we eat, and they share these cultures. But at the same time, they also learn about other cultures. So in any country we exchange, we've got partners in 56 different countries across the world. We exchange to more than 150 countries yearly. So they learn quite a bit about the cultures, about how people in their countries solve challenges. And then they come back, with that learning, with their whole worldview changed. And they implement some of the solutions and things that they've seen here. So our students have gone on to do some really incredible things, from mobile food kitchens, to mobile libraries, to shoe drives, to clothing drives, to really climate change initiatives. And I can just talk a whole day about some of the exciting things that our students have done. But it's really just about learning what is best practice abroad, and bringing that back, but also sharing best practices in South Africa and taking that abroad as well.
Now, as someone who's had their fair share of, living abroad, there is that thing of cultural shock. And I think it's something that keeps the conversation going, specifically online on social media, when someone's like, I'm in America, I'm in China, and this is what I'm seeing. This is the cultural shock. How do you assist some of these participants in really addressing, if not trying to understand, some of these cultural shocks and how to engage with these shocks?
So from a support point of view, so we have fantastic teams around the world that help, and I always say that's the operation, the operational effects of culture shock. So each student is given a contact person that is dedicated to them. Each family is given a contact person that is dedicated to them, and that person is really there to help guide the student through what they are experiencing. But before they leave, we also spend quite a long time orientating the participants about the challenges that they might experience. And so we tell them culture shock is normal and you should embrace it.
Yeah.
And actually, think about it this way: you are only there for a set amount of time, whether it be 6 months or a year. So embrace it and enjoy it, you know. One of the biggest culture shocks, I think, even for us as South Africans, is going abroad and experiencing the coldest winter that you will ever experience in your life.
Yeah.
And then students say, oh my word, it's so cold. I want to come home and it's so cold. And we're like, guys, think about it this way. You get to experience a white winter with snow. I mean, you know, you really have to go really far into the country to experience snow in South Africa, if that. So just think of, enjoy the moment while you are there. And that is the same even for other things, you know, enjoy the moment. If the food is different, we always say, don't say no, say, I'll try it once. And if you don't like it, then still don't say no, just say, no, thank you, and move on.
Certainly. And I like the fact that there are, you know, unique features and resources that are, you know, given to some of these participants, considering that they're going to a new land that they have no relations to. Can you talk us through some of those resources and unique features?
Right. So with us, we have a full program. Everything that you need is there. So we cover flights, visas, and all the operational things that you might need. But each student, as I said earlier, is provided with a dedicated contact person who talks to them, right? They've given handbooks, everything that they need to really navigate the culture. We also have language classes before that, so they get to learn the language. So you're not coming into a country not knowing anything, and you will know the very basics of the language to get by.
And with that, now looking at, you know, AFS and where it's coming from, the work it's done, I'd like for you to share your vision for the future of AFS and how you see it continuing to empower South Africans with the idea of being abroad, outside of the, you know, borders of South Africa.
Right. So I think my vision, first and foremost, is to give every young student this opportunity to travel and to learn about new cultures. I have benefited from the program myself. I went to Costa Rica in 2004. I was very blessed to be able to spend the year there and to learn about the cultures. And I really grew tremendously in that year. I was 15 years old, and I grew quite a bit. And so my vision for the organization is that we open up these opportunities to as many South Africans, kids, as possible. But I also understand that it's not possible for everybody to travel. It's not often affordable. And so we have developed quite a number of online programs which simulate the types of learning that you would have while being abroad. So students get to, in an online environment, experience a new culture, talk to kids their own age from across the world, and try to solve some of the challenges that exist in our societies.
And this makes me understand that AFS is quite committed to the idea of accessibility and that of diversity. But I'd like to just for you to reiterate to us how exactly AFS goes about really engaging and really causing that impact around, you know, its committedness to accessibility and that of diversity.
Right, so we are a volunteer-based organization, and we are volunteer-led. We have a phenomenal group of volunteers, more than 300 across the country, more than 25 different chapters. So when a student firstly applies, they get placed into the chapter closest to their home. And we could almost say that within a 300-kilometer radius of anywhere in South Africa, there is a chapter. And so once they are placed, they are then taken through the various practices that we have, the various programs that we have. For instance, we have a Global U program, which really highlights diversity and equity. It speaks about cultures, how to communicate in different cultures, and so forth. And so then only once they have gone through that process can they then be selected to go abroad. And this we open up to everybody.
Yeah.
You know, we've got some foundation courses which are online, and from the online, if you do really well there, you'll get selected then to go through this selection process and join a chapter. So accessibility for us is extremely key, and it's open to anybody that can apply. And through our volunteers and through the help of our national office and our board of directors, even if we have a student that is unable to afford to go abroad, we then reach out to our various sponsors and donors and really say, look, we've got a brilliant student. Can you then sponsor them to go abroad?
And now, just to be prepared, what would it mean for someone to be not eligible to go abroad?
Yeah, in the years that I've been doing this, unless it's a really strict sponsored program, one of our sponsored programs requires that a student be academically bright.
Okay.
There's not anything really that makes anybody eligible because we work with the students. So if we see something, that's a little concerning, or we feel that they might not adapt well into a culture, we work with the student and we say, listen, these are some of the areas for improvement. And we don't only work with the student, because this is very much a family and collaborative program. So we work with the parents, we work with brother, sister, and so forth. And so if I come back to my own experience and I think about when I went, the whole year before I went, my whole family had to partake in volunteer activities. You know, we shared a little bit about our culture. I remember my mom cooking some amazing food for a cultural evening that we had. And my sister was quite young at the time, and she joined. She was 9 years old. And then when she got to the age of 15, when she was supposed to go on exchange, she was already in the process. She's been a volunteer. We'd hosted, so she knew exactly what to do. So she almost got selected immediately.
Wow.
Right. So we really work with everybody in the family, mom, dad, granny. There's home interviews. You have to come to events. You know, it's really fun for everybody. It's not just, you know what, I decide I want to go on a program and tomorrow I'm on a flight. It's an entire experience, and we call that the entire learning journey and exchange journey of both the host family and the student.
This is quite incredible. And with that being said, for those prospective participants, how can they, begin to volunteer and begin to be part of the program? Because as you highlighted, that it really does, it's quite impactful, and it's important for you to, develop that relationship with the program itself, and just not, be part of it in terms of just to get abroad in that sense. And most importantly, what is the day in the life of some of the students, if not the volunteers who go abroad? What do their days look like?
Sure. So maybe let me start with how to get involved.
Yeah.
It's reach out to us on our website.
Okay.
We'll from there centrally allocate students and families to specific chapters, and then introduce them to the chapters. Right? Because, or reach out to us everywhere. We are everywhere: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Reach out to us anywhere, and we will then make sure that we get back to you and allocate you to a chapter. And interestingly, the day in the life of an exchange student, it's so amazing, right? Because when you go as a high school student, you go to a high school. So we'll start there. So you go to a high school for a year. So you wake up in the morning, it's breakfast with your host family. And each student is placed with a host family that we have vetted and made sure that they follow the strictest security protocols. We know all our host families personally. And in the same way that we select students, we select host families as well. Somebody physically goes to the home from the national office to vet the host family, see where the student is going to be staying, to provide that extra level of security around them. And so coming back to the day in the life of, so students wake up, have breakfast with their host family, get ready for school like they will do here. They're expected to go to school and do well in school, learn while they are there. It's not a holiday. You actually have to learn there. But now what invariably happens is they make lots of friends. Then the friends say, oh, tell us a little bit about South Africa. If I have to think back about my exchange program, I sang the national anthem probably
Wow.
1,000 times. I spoke about South Africa. A large part of your time is spent debunking myths about Africa. For instance, that South Africa is a country and not a region. We don't have lions walking in the street.
We do have hospitals.
We do have hospitals. We do have running water.
Yeah.
And you know this from your exchange. You know,
Yeah.
it's a large part of it is spending time really debunking those myths, but in a fun way.
Yeah.
You know, and in also learning. What often happens is students also then do subjects that they wouldn't necessarily do back home. So if you are planning to become a medical doctor, for instance,
Yeah.
what students would do is you'll find that on the exchange here, they do a lot of art because back home they have to do the sciences, the mathematics,
Yeah.
so then they do some art, or they also use it as an opportunity to see what other schools are doing in the science sphere to really bolster the university applications.
This is so exciting. I so wish I had this when I was still in high school. I think it would have made my endeavors abroad quite, interesting and quite, bearable in the sense. But I have to say, I truly enjoyed myself being abroad. And I think my last question to you tonight is encouraging those who are still very skeptic of the idea of going abroad and leaving their family and what they, understand to be their comfort space. What would be your message to those, who are watching tonight and would like to be part of this global citizen?
You know, I think it's very important that we broaden our horizons. The world is much bigger than we think, right? But my grandmother always used to say to me that the world is a lot smaller than you think as well. So be careful what you say.
Yeah.
But there is just so much to experience in
Yeah.
this world, more than just our hometowns that we are from. And so and to be skeptical is perfectly normal and understandable because there's just so much happening in the world.
Yeah.
Right? We switch on the news, we open the apps, and the first thing we just see is how things have gone wrong.
True.
But if you're ever going to live in fear, you're never going to do anything and learn anything. And there is just so much to learn out there. And I'm always reminded of a phrase is that your rate of learning must be faster than the rate of change. And being a global citizen gives you access into learning faster than the rate of change.
Mr. Adam, Jazakallah so much for really joining us tonight and plugging many of our viewers with an opportunity to, study abroad or volunteer abroad in that sense. But Jazakallah so much for joining us.
Jazakallah for having me.
Viewers at home, that was my guest, Mr. Adam Baatjes, who is the CEO of AFS Intercultural South Africa, who was really giving us an insight in terms of what AFS is here to offer you in terms of opportunities to interact with those who are different to you in terms of culture, religion, or even nationality. Hope that was helpful to you. But viewers at home, for now, let's run to an ad break. We'll see you just after this.